This is 1911 brand battle. Kimber versus Ruger versus Springfield. Who will reign supreme? In today's video, we're going to be looking at some 1911s. Starting today's video, we have the Kimber Aegis Elite Custom. This is a full-size 1911. It's very fancy looking. Let's see how well it puts holes in paper and see if it's reliable today. I will use the Kimber Tac Mag for the first magazine. The ammo that I'm using is Remington UMC 230 grain full metal jacket. We have our 8-inch target set up at 8 yards. See if we can put some holes on our target. Here we go. Okay, 7 of 8. Are all in a spot of about a silver dollar sized hole with one shot touching the bullseye. Let's do one more magazine, again using a Kimber Tac Mag magazine. This is also an 8-round magazine. To go into battery. Our group may be widened up slightly, but all of our hits are on target. I'd call that par for the course for this Kimber. The Kimber Aegis Elite Custom is a government size 1911 chambered in 45 ACP. It is 8.7 inches long, 5 1/4 inches high, 1.28 inches wide, and weighs in at 40 ounces unloaded. The firearm has a 5-inch stainless steel barrel. It has a single action only trigger, a thumb safety on the left side of the frame, a 1911 grip safety, and for sights, fiber optic front and rear sights. The Aegis Elite Custom has a stainless steel frame, slide, and barrel, comes with a match grade bushing, has a rounded heel bobtail frame, along with the Aegis X forward and rear slide serrations. This 1911 is available in both 9mm and 45 ACP. The sights on this firearm are among the nicest of the day. It comes stock with fiber optic front and rear sights. The fiber optics in the rear sight are a nice bright green color, while the front sight is a nice precise red fiber optic. The single action only trigger on the Aegis Elite Custom is a skeletonized trigger that looks pretty decent. The firearm also has that 1911 thumb safety and grip safety. The firearm has a rounded heel bobtail frame. It also comes with a nice set of G10 grip panels. You can also see the stippling on the front of the grip on this Kimber. Altogether, it makes for a very comfortable firearm in the hand. Let's move on and shoot another Kimber 1911. Okay, with our Kimber Aegis Elite Custom, while we saw what I would call very good holes on paper results, the failure to go into battery, which unfortunately is not uncommon with my Kimber, reared its head on our second magazine. For comparison's sake, let's shoot another Kimber Aegis, this time the Kimber Aegis Elite Pro, and see how this Kimber functions in comparison to my Kimber. I have a Wilson Combat magazine here. I believe it's 8 rounds in the magazine. Let's see how this firearm puts holes in paper. Here we go. reliability. Though nowhere near as pretty of a group out there. That's just me. I have not fired this firearm in a while. I'm not used to it, as you can tell. Let's do a second magazine. We'll see if I can clean that group up a little bit. Here we go. Slide lock back on. Okay, with this Kimber, I'm a little low left. Maybe a slightly better group with my second magazine, though as we saw halfway through, the slide locked back prematurely. I don't recall that happening before on this Kimber. That could have been me. We'll have to keep an eye on that today. The Kimber Aegis Elite Pro is a commander size 1911 chambered in 45 ACP. It is 7.7 inches long, 5¼ inches high, 1.28 inches wide, and weighs in at 38 ounces unloaded. This firearm has a 4-inch stainless steel bull barrel with the same fiber optic front and rear sight as the Aegis Elite Custom, the same thumb safety, grip safety, single action only trigger. You get the idea. The Aegis Elite Pro is that commander size 1911, and like the Elite Custom, it too has the stainless steel frame, slide, and barrel, though it has the match grade bull barrel. It too has the rounded heel, bobtail frame, and the Aegis X rear slide serrations, though no front slide serrations. It too was available in 9mm and 45 ACP, though it might be discontinued as it's no longer listed on Kimber's website. We're going to skip showing the sights, trigger, grip, safety, etc. on this firearm because they're identical to the Aegis Elite Custom, and we're going to save time by skipping them. On that note, let's move to the third 1911 in today's video, one by Springfield. Okay, we fired two different Kimbers in the Aegis line, and while they had what we'll call good holes on paper performance, the reliability left something to be desired. Let's shoot a different 1911 not made by Kimber, this time a Springfield Range Officer Target Edition, and see both how the holes on paper and reliability compare to those Kimbers. This is one of the Cruise 1911s. I don't know that this firearm has ever been cleaned, though it has the benefit of dirty gun reliability on its side. Here we go. Now, while it does not have the fiber optic front sight, I would still call these target sights. It has a very nice anti-glare target rear sight. And the front sight, while it's anti-glare, has a bit of white paint on there to help it stand out against our black and red target today. Here we go. Okay, 7 shots on target. Looks like we cut a line across our target. Not a bad group out there. Let's do magazine 2 and see how she goes. And our group has not changed at all, with 100% reliability, at least from our 2 magazines. I like the sights on that as well. I would say not surprising that our Springfield was very reliable and accurate, while our Kimber only had one of those qualities. Let's do one more 1911 and see how that does. The Springfield Range Officer Target is a government-sized 1911 chambered in 45 ACP. It is 8.6 inches long, 5.5 inches high, 1¼ inches wide, and weighs in at 40 ounces unloaded. It has a 5-inch stainless steel matched barrel. The sights are an anti-glare front blade with a target adjustable rear sight. It also has the standard thumb safety and grip safety of a 1911, along with the 1911 single action only trigger. The Range Officer Target was available in both 45 ACP and 9mm. It has a carbon steel frame and slide with a stainless steel barrel. The finishes were a parkerized finish or a polished stainless finish. Came with 2 7-round magazines. It's discontinued in name on Springfield's website, though this configuration is probably still available under a new name, which is what Springfield seems to like to do. Here you can see the sights that come on the Range Officer Target. It has the target adjustable rear sight with an anti-glare front sight. Note, we painted the white paint on that front sight. The crew and I have always thought it's a little weird that Springfield included a nice upgraded rear target sight on this firearm, but only has a plain anti-glare front sight instead of something like a fiber optic. The Range Officer Target has the extended skeletonized single action only trigger, along with the standard thumb safety and grip safety of a 1911. Unlike the Kimbers before it in today's video, it does not have the rounded heel bobtail frame, though it does come with a nice set of Cocobolo wood grips that have a nice diamond checkered pattern along with Springfield's cross cannon design. Let's now move to the final 1911 represented in today's video, one made by Ruger. The final 1911 we're going to take a look at in today's video is the Ruger SR 1911. This firearm, I believe, is around 15 years old. It was purchased the first year that Ruger released these 1911s. I'm pretty sure it has never been cleaned more than having a bore brush run through it and some Rem oil shot on it. Let's do a couple magazines from this firearm and see how it performs. We will shoot a couple Ruger brand magazines out of it. Here we go. Now, I would say the sights on the Ruger, while they're plain 3 white dot sights, they're more similar to what's on my Kimber compared to the target sights on the Springfield. So a nice set of 3 white dot sights. Here we go. Pretty good group out there. One a little left of the bullseye, the next 6 in a group a little below the bullseye. This Ruger magazine is an 8-round magazine. Here we go. Say it looks like we put our holes on the second magazine in the same area as on our first magazine. And again, 100% reliability. You might be asking yourself, well, maybe those Kimbers are just too clean to function reliability. And while I can't rule that out, I don't want to say for sure that's the cause. The SR 1911 we're shooting in today's video is a commander size 1911. It has an overall length of 7 3/4 inches, height of 5.45 inches, width of 1.34 inches, and weighs in at 36.4 ounces unloaded. This firearm has a 4¼ inch stainless steel barrel. For sights, it has a standard 3 white dot sight system, and it has the 1911 style thumb safety, grip safety, and single action only trigger. Some additional notes on the firearm are it has a stainless steel frame, slide, and barrel, a titanium firing pin, comes with an oversized ejection port, and this Ruger SR 1911 is available in both 45 ACP and 9mm. Here you can see the 3 white dot sight system that comes on the SR 1911. While they might be the simplest, plainest, most Spartan sights of the video, they're certainly among the most effective of the sights on our firearms here today. The trigger on the SR 1911 is a skeletonized single action only trigger. It also has a extended thumb safety along with that 1911 grip safety. You may also notice the grips on this SR 1911 have been replaced with a Hogue grip rather than the stock wood grips. Okay, the crew and I have decided to give the Kimber 1911s a second chance here. Our thought process is maybe because we sort of expected a failure that we somehow subconsciously manifested that failure into existence. Let's start with our Aegis Elite Pro. We're going to do 2 magazines. The first magazine, I will do a Kimber Tac Mag. The second magazine, a Wilson Combat magazine. And we'll see if our reliability is better now that we're thinking happy thoughts. Here we go. Group is a little bit low. I think my first shot I pulled low. That was just me. This is the Wilson Combat magazine now. These 2 magazines, we had much better reliability. And I may be getting the sights figured out with the slightly shorter sight radius on this Elite Pro. I was able to bring that group up a little bit. Okay, let's try that same thing now with our Kimber Aegis Elite Custom, using the same 2 magazines that we shot our other Kimber with, starting with that Tac Mag. Here we go. Okay, good group out there. One little low, but the other ones we carved a line across the bullseye. This is the Wilson Combat magazine now. Okay, that could be bad ammo. We're going to give that a second.
There might be a squib in there.
Yeah, we're going to have to look. That was a primer went off, but the round did not fire, which I'm not going to fault the Kimber on. We're going to wait in case there's a hang fire. Okay, let's clear our pistol here. That was weird. Okay. Whoa. Okay. I mean, I've seen this before. I probably should have noticed it before I loaded it. The primer's in backwards. That's upside, that primer's upside down. Okay, we'll see if we can get this on camera for you. This is a good reminder to always check your ammo before you pop it in your magazine. The primer on this Winchester round, we'll show it on this camera, probably get a picture with the still camera. This primer is reversed, which I guess partially explains the failure there. Yeah, let's double check the rest of the rounds in this magazine real quick. Okay, the rest of these are fine. Okay, and wanting to replace it. That was Winchester Limited Edition USA Valor 45 230 grain full metal jacket. All right, I have reloaded our magazine with one round to replace the bad round. Let's finish out the shots at our target. Here we go. No failures that we can fault on the Kimber there. What I would say is, and this could just be a coincidence, but when I fired our Kimber pistols for our second set of magazines, in my head I was chanting, no failure, no failure, no failure. That seemed to help. I can't, with scientific evidence, say that it helped, but my gut says that it helped. Okay, to rule out any subconscious bias on my part influencing the outcome of these Kimbers, the crew's going to step in now and shoot a couple magazines. Though I can't help but wonder if they're going to think happy thoughts and chant no failure like I did in their head. Yeah, I think that was the Wilson Combat magazine. Very good group out there.
Wow, the chant does work.
Yeah.
Woo!
from the failure to get back on your same target.
Yeah, I forgot that I was doing so well I stopped my chant.
I think the Springfield has 7-round magazines. Good group out there, not quite as good as you shot with the Kimbers.
Okay, here we go.
1911 that started it all for us. Same hole in the bullseye, maybe 3 through the same hole.
Well, I threw a little low.
But you have a good group out there still. Before we get into the conclusion to today's video, let's first visit with some of the squares off our ranking map and discuss the pros and cons of each of these firearms. Starting with the Kimber Aegis Elite Custom, this firearm is accurate. It has a lot of eye candy behind its external appearance. The grip feels very good in the hand. It has a very good trigger, and the fiber optic sights are a nice bonus. On the downside, as we saw in today's video, at least my Kimber Aegis Elite Custom is prone to failures. I think some of that has to do with what feel like tight tolerances, and also that front sight, the fiber optic front sight, is prone to melting. I've melted it a couple times now, one shooting it at the range, putting round after round through it, and one when it was sitting on the tailgate of my truck when we were out at the training center, and the sunlight hit it just right to melt it in half. When it comes to some of the categories off of our ranking map, for accuracy, it's getting a 5 strips of bacon accuracy rating. Reliability, it's not as reliable as it should be, and so it's at 2 strips of bacon. It does have some felt recoil. It could have more felt recoil, though it could have less felt recoil, so it's getting 4 strips of bacon in that regard. Being a government size 1911, it's not the most concealable pistol in the world, probably far from it, so it only gets 2 strips of bacon in that concealability. The nice, not just cosmetic features that went into the grip give it a 5 strips of bacon for that grip rating. Those front sight and rear fiber optic sight are very good, though with it being prone to melting, it only got 4 strips of bacon. The trigger we rated at 4 strips of bacon. While it's very good, it's not custom shop good. Capacity, all of these firearms today being single stack magazine fed are going to get 3 strips of bacon in the capacity rating. Cosmetics, well, that's one area where Kimber knocked it out of the park, and we've given the cosmetics on this firearm a 5 strips of baking ranking. Easy rack, while it is an easy 1911 to rack, it's far from the easiest pistol in the world. It is a little arthritic friendly, as the crew would say, though it's not in the same ballpark as something like a Smith & Wesson EZ 380, Ruger Security 380. You get the idea. So as a result, and all of the firearms will be ranked this way, 3 strips of bacon on the easy rack scale. And finally, overall value. Because of the high price combined with low reliability score, the Kimber Aegis Elite Custom has only got 3 strips of bacon in the overall value. Shifting now to our Kimber Aegis Elite Pro. In similar fashion to the Kimber before it, it's accurate, it has a lot of eye candy going for it, it has a very good grip and trigger, and the fiber optic sights are very nice. On the downside, while it does have better reliability than my Kimber Aegis Elite Custom, it's still prone to the occasional failure, and again, I put that down to the tight tolerances that feel almost on the too tight side. And as a last downside, unlike the other 1911s featured in today's video, to field strip the Elite Pro, you need a paperclip type tool to help lock down the recoil spring, which it's easy to lose that tool, and when you need it, you often don't have it. Moving to our ranking map, in accuracy, the Elite Pro is going to get that 5 strips of bacon. It's more accurate than I represented, and good thing we have the crew with us to help show that off today. Reliability, similar to the Kimber before it, I'm only giving it 2 strips of bacon here. There might have been room for 3 strips, but I'm leaving it at 2 strips due to the failures we saw today. Recoil, slightly more felt recoil with the Commander size 1911 compared to our government size 1911, so drop down to 3 strips of bacon in the recoil, though that little decrease in size does give it 1 extra strip of bacon in the concealability score, moving that to 3 strips of bacon. Having the same grip as the Elite Custom, it gets that same 5 strips of bacon score, along with the same sights, giving it the same 4 strips of bacon score there. Trigger, again, 4 strips, same trigger, to be expected. And finally, since some of the other ratings we've already touched on, let's just move right to value. Because of the both expensive price and diminished reliability, shall we say, it too is only getting 3 strips of bacon in our overall value score. Let's transition now to the Springfield Range Officer Target. For pros, the Range Officer Target is accurate, it's reliable, it has that good target rear sight with a good trigger, and it field strips like your standard 1911. On the downside, it's discontinued, and it could have a better front sight to go with that nice target rear sight. Moving to the rankings, you may notice a trend in today's video. For accuracy, the Range Officer Target is at 5 strips of bacon, with also 5 strips of bacon in reliability. It's been a very reliable pistol for us. Being the government size 1911, it does absorb recoil well and has earned 4 strips of bacon in the recoil category. Could be a little better, but of course could be a whole heck of a lot worse. And because it's that government size big 1911, it's far from the most concealable pistol out there, only 2 strips of bacon for concealability. The grip on this firearm, while not quite as much eye candy as the Kimber, it still has a very good grip and grip panel setup on it, and it has earned 4 strips of bacon on our grip ranking. For sights, we dropped it down to 3 strips of bacon here, mostly due to that front sight that feels like it should be a little better, like something like a fiber optic front to match that target rear. The trigger is very good, not custom shop good, but still on the good side, in the 4 strips of bacon level. Capacity is going to be 3 strips of bacon like everything else. For cosmetics, it's not as flashy. You don't feel quite like a dictator when you shoot it, though it still has that classic 1911 look, and it sits in the middle of the road at 3 strips of bacon. And finally, moving to value, while it's not the most expensive 1911 out there, it's certainly far from the cheapest, but it is reliable and accurate, which help bump that value score overall up to 4 strips of bacon. And finally, the SR1911. It's accurate, reliable, it has simple but effective sights, a very good trigger, and it field strips like your standard 1911. On the downside, if there is a downside, while we normally think of Ruger as more of a budget-friendly brand, this one is probably on the more expensive side than it probably should be, in our opinion, for calling it a Ruger. Moving to our ranking map, like the pistols before it, the SR1911 has earned that 5 strips of bacon for accuracy. It's a very accurate 1911. It also has 5 strips of bacon for reliability. It is extremely reliable. In the recoil category, being the commander size, it's not quite as good at absorbing recoil as the government size, though it still absorbs recoil well, and it finds itself in the middle of the pack at 3 strips of bacon. That little smaller size does give it a slight boost to concealability over the government size, moving concealability up to 3 strips of bacon for the SR1911. The grip on the SR1911, while a little more Spartan than the Kimbers, it is still a good, comfortable, easy-to-hold grip and has earned 4 strips of bacon. And while the sights aren't the prettiest sights, at least cosmetically compared to our other firearms today, those 3-dot sights, while simple, they are very effective, earning 4 strips of bacon in the ranking. The trigger is very good, though again, and you'll notice a trend, not custom shop good, so it's at the 4 strips of bacon level. For cosmetics, it's not quite as cosmetically pleasing as the Kimbers, but it still has those classic 1911 lines, earning it 4 strips of bacon. And finally, for value, while a little more expensive than most Rugers tend to go, it's still not the most expensive pistol in today's video. It does have accuracy and reliability on its side, which help give it 4 out of 5 strips of bacon on the overall value score. Let's put some final thoughts on today's video. We might as well rank these firearms while we're at it. At the number 4 spot, unsurprising, is going to be our Kimber Aegis Elite Custom. And just above it in the number 3 spot is going to be the Kimber Aegis Elite Pro. We're going to talk about these firearms together because some of the points are pretty identical for them again. Other than being the difference in commander size versus officer size, these firearms are fairly similar. Some people are going to say, well, you're just biased against Kimber. If I was biased against Kimber, would I own 3 of them? At least. Would the crew own at least 2 of them? At least the crew that we were shooting with today? Probably not. We wouldn't own any of them if we were biased against them. The knock on the Kimbers, as we saw here, has mostly to do with reliability. Some people are going to say, we'll just use a Wilson Combat magazine. And be it a budget firearm that we have budget expectations, or something a little less budget-friendly like the Kimber, either way, I think it should be coming with reliable magazines that work with the firearm. And in this case, I don't think the magazines are the source of the problem. I actually have Wilson Combat magazines, and while we didn't see a failure today using the Wilson Combat magazines, I think that had more to do with my no failure chant in my mind than because they were just Wilson Combat magazines. There have been plenty of other times that I've shot this firearm and had failures using the Wilson Combat mags. Even in videos on this channel, I would even go as far as to say, at least as far as my Kimbers go, they like Ruger brand magazines the most, and probably Wilson Combat the least. Another point I would toss in on that is, especially when you're talking about a $1,200 firearm, to me it's unrealistic to ask the customer to then go out and buy another company's magazines to make your firearm work. I feel like homie don't play that way. Priced in the $1,000 to $1,200 ballpark, the 2 Kimbers we shot in today's video are the 2 most expensive firearms we shot in today's video, though it's not by much. All 4 of today's firearms are probably more expensive than we'd like them to be. Though, as we saw, the biggest factor for our ranking these 2 firearms, number 3 and number 4, came more down to reliability than anything else. While they are on the more expensive side, they do have that eye candy appeal, as well as feeling very good in the hand that make you say, well, this feels like a high quality, well-made firearm. I'm of the mindset that the reason for some of the failures we see with these firearms has more to do with tight tolerances. The Kimbers that we shot in today's video, if you hold them, you give them a little bit of a shake, there is no movement between the slide and the frame. The slide sits on the frame rails very tight. There's really no play between the slide and the frame. On our Ruger and our Springfield, if you do the same thing, you give it a little shake. While you don't see or hear a maraca, you do feel a slight bit of play, wobble, jiggle, whatever you want to call it, between the slide and the frame. And I think that a little looser tolerance there between the slide and the frame, at least in the case of our firearms, lends itself to a little better reliability. There's a little more room for oops to happen. In the number 2 spot in today's video, we have the Springfield Range Officer Target. Now this one is priced in, we'll say, the $700 to $900 range, a little more budget friendly than our Kimbers, or quite a bit more if you find it used, though you don't feel like there's much of a step down in terms of the eye candy and quality feel in the hand. It's a well-made firearm, it's accurate, it's reliable, it shoots well, and really the one thing that prevented it from taking the top spot in today's video, I think, comes down to the sights. In talking to the crew about it, while it does have that nice rear target sight, that plain Jane front sight that we kind of spiffed up a little bit with some white paint to help it stand out was still not enough to put it in the range of sights where you'd say, that's a sight I'd like to have on all my guns. In fact, if there's one thing I would do on that range officer target, is I would change that front sight out to something like a Dawson high visibility front sight, fiber optic front sight that I prefer, but that's probably for another video. The top spot in today's video, surprising to some, unsurprising to others, is that Ruger SR 1911, priced in what we'll say the $800 to $1,000 range, depending on where you live, and you have a firearm that, at least as far as Rugers go, is not the most budget friendly, but it performs well. It's accurate, it's reliable, it's easy to shoot. While it's not, as I said, easy on the budget, at least is one that it makes up for it in its performance. And while it doesn't have the fanciest sights in today's video, the plain Jane Spartan 3 white dot simple sights, compared to what some would consider the upgraded target sights on our range officer, those simple Spartan 3 white dot sights were more effective, especially to someone that had eye problems or trouble seeing some sights. And something as simple as just 3 simple white dots where they can pick up on that front white dot can be a world of difference compared to an anti-glare flat black front sight, which is one of the reasons the Ruger jumped to the top spot in today's list. While it wasn't the cheapest firearm today, it certainly wasn't the most expensive, and it had the nicest combination of features that allowed it to perform the best. Well, anyway, that's just our thought on the topic. How do you rank the 4 1911s we featured in today's video? Let us know in the comments, and let us know which features you prefer and don't prefer in your 1911. Well, anyway, that seems like the perfect spot to end today's video. If you enjoyed today's video, like it, share it with your friends and family, drop a comment on there. Those things are free, and they really help the channel greatly. If you'd like to help us make more of these videos in the future, look into becoming a member. Fred and I really appreciate you getting this far. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good night. The Navigator. The drive of the Forza Navigator. It says, "Human, take me to where the tree toes blow." What do you think, Fred? Where do you think we'll see some wildlife today? In the wild. In the wild. It's the biggity barks. Biggity barks. Frederick's biggity barks. Frederick's a bark.